Takeover, sponsored by Bayou Beat News and powered by JM&E. I am, of course, KG Chris Gardner of the Houston Roundball Review. And joining me per regular is Miss Kenitra Pulliams. KP, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Chris.
And of course, as everyone knows who watches the show, Bayou Beat News, BayouBeatNews.com, bringing that Southern love to your daily news coverage. KP, I'm going to do things kind of different on today's show, on today's Takeover, that you can watch on YouTube and on Roku via the BS3 Network. Download the BS3 app so you can watch it on Roku. Houston Cougars women's basketball played Saturday evening against Arizona. Went to overtime, surprisingly. Final score was 74-72 Arizona. The score was tied at 72 with roughly 3 seconds left. Arizona called timeout, set up a play. Inbound the ball. I believe the young lady's name was Skylar Jones. Attacked the basket. In my opinion, she committed a charging violation when she crashed into Houston's summer bus stop. The referee thought differently, called it a block with 1 second left. Coach Hughey, the Houston head coach, obviously thought different. So he was livid. He had to be restrained by his staff. Skylar made the 2 free throws at the side of the game. So Houston lost 74-72.
Was that play reviewed?
It was reviewed, and they still stuck with the original call.
Did they say confirmed? Did they say stands?
I don't know if we could hear that in the arena.
Okay.
And I didn't watch it I didn't pull it up on my laptop.
Okay.
But I think, I'm going to get kind of what I heard from people at the scorers table. The refs went with the call, the initial call on the floor.
Yeah. So they didn't change it.
Right. So, they could use the rationale. There wasn't enough in the review to overturn the call kind of thing.
Yeah. So basically, call stands.
Call stands. I thought it was a charge. Okay. I think nope, I'm not going to get into all that. But so I'm going to play Coach Hughey's post-game comments, and he has a long pause. Not long, but a few seconds pause, because he's trying to calm down. Because when the game ended, he walked onto the court, yelled at that official who made the call, told that official probably some choice words, his thoughts on life and his disapproval of the call and everything like that. And he had to be restrained. So KP, I don't believe the Big 12 conference, or really any college conference, announces publicly fines for a head coach for berating officials, anything like that. So what Coach Hughey did after the game, directly after the game, wasn't bad. He was frustrated. So I don't know what he said to the ref as the ref was walked off the court. Did not respond to anything that that coach said. But you could tell, based on my seat and based on the viewing on ESPN Plus, he was using some choice words. Okay. But so here we go with his comments. And then we'll discuss what he said. Give me your thoughts on what you heard him say. And then if you want to, what you maybe didn't hear him say. Okay? Here we go.
Hats off to Arizona for playing a good game and coming back and winning the game. I want to take anything from my kids for being resilient and playing. I just was always taught, and I've always seen on both sides of the ball, whether it's men or women, whether it's FIBA, NBA, whatever the case may be, at the end of games, the kids decide the games. And I'm really trying not to get fined here, so really upset And I think I better take some questions.
Right there, what, and I'm going to play the rest of his post game, but right there, what are your thoughts? What he said?
Initially, he wanted to address it, the source of his frustration, but he counted to 10 and, kind of just issued the obligatory congratulations to our opponent. They played well, I also commend our team, blah, 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 because he was really trying to tactfully find the words to convey the degree to which he disagreed with the call, which, affected the outcome of the game. So, yeah. And it's just, you can just see the season and his tenure. It's just heavy. It's weighing on him.
Yes. Agreed. And now let me add this little tidbit. Houston led in the fourth quarter, I want to say by 10, something like that. But they had 9 turnovers in the fourth quarter. I asked Coach Hughey about those 9 turnovers.
Okay.
Take a listen. Now, this is going to be the rest of his postgame comments. I don't want you to get fined. That's why. So, okay. Your thoughts on the fourth quarter and turnovers for you guys?
Yeah, it's the thing that this group hasn't just been able to get over the hump with. We've never had this issue before. So when we get to this point, we can go over 15 different press breakers and things like that. But it all comes down to having confidence to be able to secure the ball and be able to fake a pass and make a pass. And you have to have willing participants running the open areas to be able to catch the ball and be able to advance it from there. We tried to use Layla, taking the ball out, getting the first pass, being able to make those pass options. But again, everybody has to play their part in that, because you can't have shortcuts and things like that to where people aren't fulfilling their roles to be able to get the ball in. But disappointed in that end of it, but I'm just happy that we were up enough to where we could at least take it to the overtimes and things like that. But we have to continue to work on just some ball security down the stretch with it. If we take care of the ball, you win the game.
Your thoughts on how Kiki did overall? She stuck the stat sheet.
Yeah, the thing is, I'm telling her you have to do more. She can do more. Towards the end of the game, they got 2 reversals and had an opportunity to get the ball in the post because she did the down backside wing. And then once we got her on the timeout, she came out, she got the steal. And then she go down and make a layup. And that's what I'm telling her, you can't take plays off. I don't care if you got 4 fouls. It's the last minutes of the game. Everybody got fouls now. But you got to be ready to go. And she has to do more for us.
With Aaliyah, some of her fouls, are they being too aggressive?
No, it's just her swiping down, silly stuff. 3 of them were her swiping down with people going and just trying to get her to understand, just keep your hands up and let them shoot over top of you. But again, it's those bad habits that they have that you hopefully understand that down the stretch we need you on the floor. It's her first foul out this year. But again, you have to be in those kind of situations, have your best on the floor. They had their best on the floor, and we didn't.
On the 3-point shot to force overtime, was she the number 1 option on the shot, Aaliyah?
She was the second option. We wanted Layla coming off of that, but they've been trying to deny her up the court, and so we knew we could be able to slip Aaliyah right there to be able to get that shot. The thing that surprised me was her getting the dribbles into it. I thought she would just get there, catch it, and then turn around and shoot it, but I guess Summer passed it a little quicker than she expected, and I'm just glad she was able to get there, because the one thing that I always tell them, players make plays. We watch, what's his name, the shooter today on the men's team.
LJ Cry?
Sharp.
Sharp,
Sharp, right there down the stretch when they needed one bucket to go ahead and just be able to secure it, and he shot it from 30, and that's what you got to have. Players make plays. We can draw up everything we want to draw up, but players make plays.
Well, what are your thoughts on all of that he said?
Curious he said that to tell Kiki, like, everybody has fouls. It's the end of the game. You got to play. We need more from you. But Aaliyah fouls out. So, like, maybe Kiki was thinking, like, you know, I got to stay on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
We already have one of our starters fouled out. So maybe, there's a little bit of hesitation instead of playing with reckless abandon. She's just more strategic with, with how she's playing, just because, knowing that you lose 2 starters. I mean, that's tough. Also, it's very telling. 9 turnovers in the fourth quarter, only 11 points scored. So, was it a case of just like you see the goal, but you can't get there fast enough? Like the finish line's right there, and then you just kind of start overthinking.
And let me add, up until 3 seconds left, whatever it was, they had 9 turnovers and 8 points in the fourth quarter. That 3-point shot Aaliyah Love hit was to force overtime. So it was the last 1 second left, drew up the play, tough shot, got a friendly bounce she shot it from in front of the UH bench. So from the side, it hit the rim at a strange angle, bounced up, and then it just came through, fell through the net. So prior to that, they had more turnovers in the fourth than points.
All right.
But the teammate reaction afterwards, after the tying, to force overtime, they were happy. They were euphoric. But not all of them were happy and euphoric. I'm not going to say names. You can go back to look at replays and see for yourself. But it wasn't, only like 7 or 8 players on the team. But not everybody was thrilled and ecstatic that they had forced overtime with a miraculous 3-point shot.
And why was that?
There has been some
division
chemistry issues on this year's team. Okay. I've seen it. I've been told about that as well, and that's that is another contributing factor into having the worst record in the Big 12 this season is a lack of team chemistry, on top of the injuries and on top of not coaching them up. So it all adds up, and that's why they have the worst record in the conference. And in a few days, Coach Hughey will no longer be the head coach of UH women's basketball. I think it's safe to say an announcement will be made at some point in the next few days that they are moving on. He's not fired. His contract ends.
Yeah.
He's not being brought back.
Yeah, they're not renewing it.
So that's how they're going to phrase it in the statement. We're not going to renew his contract.
We wish him well. We wish him well. We think, yes.
All those good things. Now, you heard what Coach Hughey said. Now, listen to what Coach Adia Barnes said from the victorious Arizona Wildcats.
I just want to start by saying that Houston played a really good game. I think they're a lot better than their record shows. I think they play Hughey has them playing really hard, and they outplayed us for, I'd say, 37 minutes of the game. If it wouldn't have been for Love getting in foul trouble and us getting a couple calls our way, we don't win this game. They were out-muscling us. They were denying us we couldn't get open. We didn't have an answer for their mid-range game. We continued to leave them open and give them open 3-point shots. So we're lucky that we came out with a win today. But we did, so win's a win, thank goodness.
What was different in those 3 minutes, whatever you said?
I think we just woke up. I think we came to the realization we call it wars. We play in 5-minute segments, so we play games within a game. So we do these 5-minute wars. And I think we realized down 13 with that last war, like, we're going to lose this game. I think during the game, we kept on thinking we were going to come back and, like, waiting for someone else to do it. And we just couldn't ever get stops. And so I think in that last 4 minutes, it was like, oh, shoot, we're going to lose this game. I mean, these are must-wins for us. And I told them at this time of year, everybody gets upset. And I think that we are finally in the point of our season where we have a little bit more favorable schedule this last week because we had the gauntlet before. So we know that these are wins we need. And the way we came out of the game, out to play this game, we were not intense, we weren't ready, and we turned it on. I think looking like, ooh, our backs are against the wall. We need to finally step up and play defense because that's the way we should have played the whole game, and we did not. And then we made some bad mistakes down the stretch and to allow a three-pointer to go into overtime. And they had the ball bouncing because at that point, they were all very confident. They were shooting the ball at 48%, and they're usually lower 30s. I think even lower than 30 from the three. And they were very confident, and they should have been because we couldn't guard them. So we just got lucky today.
What are your thoughts on Houston's number 2, Kira Merchant?
I think she's a good player. I mean, I'm telling you, I think Merchant's good. I think Cook is good. I think Blair is good. They were very hard for us to guard. I mean, we gave 21, 14, 14, and then Love, we did not have an answer for. She's a good player. And we knew they were good. We knew they were injured and down, but they're a good team still. Teams like this concern me because when they're athletic at every position or all their guard positions, they're hard to guard one-on-one. And we were not on point defensively. So, I think Merchant early was shooting the ball really well. We continued to leave her open for threes in the corner. And then we could not guard Blair or Cook off the bounce. And then we couldn't guard offensive rebounds to Love and stuff like that. We didn't have an answer. So, we have to play better, and we have to come into games with more of a sense of urgency. And it was funny because I told them at one point, we're always asking to cut this, cut that. I said, we're not doing that again because, it's like cut the warm up, cut this, rest here, don't go walk through here. We're young, so I don't think we're capable of making those adjustments sometimes. I think with my more experienced teams, I say, rest today, we won't go shoot around because you can be on point, you can walk through things mentally. I don't know if we're there yet because we want to do those things. So I was telling them that in the bench, we want to do those things and we show up and don't play hard. And I think that, but that's with youth and we're learning from these experiences, but I'm happy with our resiliency. We were down, our backs were against the wall, and we found a way to come back from a 13-point deficit. That shows a lot of grit, and that shows some heart, but we have to have that heart the whole game.
Your thoughts on having the advantage in the paint against Houston?
Yeah, I think that we should have had more of an advantage. I don't think we had too much of an advantage because we start 2 5s. And so Love in that type of player is a very hard matchup because she just attacks us off the dribble. But I thought that when they went into switching and different things, I thought we took advantage. I thought Isis and Brea did play really well. Brea missed some shots early from fading because she didn't really have a mismatch. But I thought Isis took over the game set points, and especially in the third quarter, and gave us a spark. I mean, she was playing really hard. So, them combined to have like 37 points, I think. I don't know my math, but 38 points. That was pretty good. So, but we just kind of need more productivity and more efficiency overall from our team. And the threes were not falling. We kept on, we were takers tonight, not makers. And at one point I said, hey, the three's not working, stop shooting threes. We were like 4 for 14 at some point, and we ended up 4 for 18. We just took way too many threes, and that's not our strength.
What are your thoughts on what Coach Barnes said in post?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty thorough in her comments. And, at this time of year, most coaches will tell you that, every team is tired, every team is fatigued, and they try to modify their practice schedule just to kind of, preserve their legs, especially, as you get ready for conference tournament time where you're playing back-to-back days, if you're fortunate enough, to win. And it's, very complimentary, but I mean, it's easier to be complimentary when your team wins.
Yes.
She may not have been as generous in her praise within her locker room. But publicly, yeah. But that's the thing. It's not like Houston is a young team. I mean, they have some, young players, but I mean, most of your seniors are veterans. But yes, it's tough when you really only have a 6-player rotation and, 7 players play, but, really 6 play, double-digit minutes. So it's tough because at the same time, you're tired and you're not having success. So yeah, I'm sure it's hard to get motivated. Like, it's another game, and maybe you mentally beat yourself, you know, at this point in the year.
When she said that we couldn't, you know, they couldn't guard Houston and, you know, athleticism, some of those comments, I was like, I wonder what a different head coach could do with this team, the Houston team. And Houston's one win in the Big 12 this season was over a ranked team, Oklahoma State. Which at the time, because I had a few friends text me after that win, and they were like, is this going to be the turnaround for the team? I'm like, no, no, I doubt it. And my answer was, this win is more ammunition to the administration to say to Coach Hughey, see, this proves to us that you could do it with 7 players.
All right.
If you had more depth, but you beat a top 25 team with only 7 players. So just think what you could do, blah, 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 blah. So that win, I think, hurt him more than it helped him, because it showed what this team could have done if they were more locked in, if they played consistently game in, game out, if they did not have team chemistry issues that seemed to permeate through the locker room. But neither here nor there. The writing is on the wall for Coach Ron Hughey. Senior day is March 2nd. Then they'll have one more game. I think just one more game. That first day 1 of the Big 12 women's tournament on March 5th against the 9th seeded team, as you told me before we began.
But hey,
they'll be done. You know,
if there's reason to be encouraged for senior day, UCF has not won a conference game on the road this season.
That is true.
So
that is true. Their 3 wins in conference play are at home. And it'd be good to go out for Layla Blair and the seniors on the Cougs team. And, you know, honestly, for Coach Hughey, because I'm pretty sure he knows that he won't be back.
Sure.
He's got that sense. He can see it. You know, the staff can see it.
I mean, any
players
any
can see
coach
it,
knows,
and all of that. Yeah.
Any coach knows if they don't renew you, they have no plans to keep you.
Right.
If they wanted you, they show you. He knows.
You know that, and plus it's a new AD.
Yeah.
Most new ADs want to bring in their own head coach, have their own stamp on the hires, all of that. So he knows. Thank you for that great insight on those 2 press conferences here that you heard on this edition of the Houston Roundball Review Takeover, sponsored by Bayou Beat, BayouBeatNews.com, bringing that Southern love to your daily news coverage. Going to take the break now, because after the break, I am going to ask Kenitra, Miss KP, her thoughts on a program she knows pretty well in the Big 12. And if you followed her for a while, you know who that is. But if you haven't, you're going to find out in about a minute after I lead into it, because you're watching the Houston Roundball Review Takeover, powered by JMNE, on YouTube, on Roku, on courtesy of the BS3 Network. Get that app so you can download BS3 and watch on Roku. Watch this show live, but future shows live, but this show on demand via the app BS3 on Roku. If you're like, Chris, what is BS3? Well, I'm glad you asked, because I'm going to play this promo to give you an indication of what BS3 TV is all about. And we will be back, KP and I, in about 35 seconds. You're watching the Houston Roundball Review Takeover, sponsored by Bayou Beat, powered by JM&E via the BS3 Network.
BS3 Network, changing the way you watch TV.
Welcome back to the Houston Roundball Review Takeover, sponsored by Bayou Beat News and powered by JM&E. The Takeover is also available via the BS3 Network. If you have a Roku streaming device, just download BS3 TV. If not, you can go to bs3network.com or bs3tvlive.com. Now, Miss KP Kenitra-Pulliams, we're going to let folks know about your great knowledge and insights of the Kansas Athletics and KU men's basketball. The struggles they had prior to their modest 2-game winning streak. But what are your thoughts on it? We were texting back and forth when that 34-point drubbing, it was 34, right? 34-point drubbing that KU received. Your thoughts on that? What's wrong with KU? Has it been fixed?
Number one, it's something about, for some reason, playing in the state of Utah, where they've struggled, both regular season and postseason. But it's just, the pieces don't fit cohesively, consistently. For some reason, Zeke Mayo, one of the transfers this year, plays really well at home. It doesn't translate to on the road. Has a tough time scoring. And Store and Griffin, it's just trying to really find, at this point of late February, Bill Self is still tinkering with his starting lineup. Just hasn't really solidified, who he feels comfortable with. They're not defending as typical Jayhawk teams do at that level. They're not really shooting the ball well from three. And that's been kind of a struggle the past couple of years. And it's just really, it's tough that you're just trying to, look for answers and it's just not there. And so, this was supposed to be a stretch in February to get right, stretch. Hadn't panned out as such. So, right now they're, trying to find a way not to play on the opening day of the Big 12 tournament, which is tough because remaining games all against ranked teams.
Yeah.
Fortunately, they're only playing Arizona once this year, but fortunately that game is coming at home. They have the return game coming up on Big Monday against Houston, a team that KU really thought they had that. And maybe you can point to that game as when the struggles got exposed. Houston came back and won that game, and it's just KU. It staggered KU is what it did. And then they get Texas Tech, and again, that game is in Lawrence, so you get that game at home. You don't have to go to Lubbock to play that one. So,
are KU's or could KU struggles be mitigated by a more consistent, more locked in, more aggressive Hunter Dickinson? No.
Hunter, I think Hunter is who Hunter is. You see, against Colorado, had a great game. Still, KU led for the entire game, but it was a lot closer than, what maybe people thought. And, he comes through with a double-double and, plus 30 points in that one. But again, to me, he's limited in his athleticism. And he'll get into a stretch where he just, instead of getting down low, getting paint touches, he feels the need to shoot threes. I don't know why. I mean, you're 7 feet tall. Get inside. Get on the low block. But at the same time, not all of that is his fault. His teammates have to find a way and be intentional about trying to get him the ball to where he can work inside. Another problem for KU is team rebounding. It's basically, if it's not Hunter, you really don't know who's going to crash the glass. And one comment that was made by Fran Fraschilla in the game against Houston was that it wasn't necessarily Houston's guards that rebounded well, but they kept their men or their assigned players from rebounding the ball. So it was more of a cohesive team rebounding effort by the Cougars.
KP, I'm going to ask you this because I'm not sure I've asked you this in private.
Okay.
What was, from your perspective, and it's, outside looking in, what was your thought? What did you expect from Kelvin Sampson and the Houston Cougars when they joined the Big 12, their first year in the Big 12, first 2 years now in the Big 12?
I mean, based on, that's the thing, like their brand of basketball translates. It wasn't like they were, a mediocre team. I mean, they were an elite team coming in. And so for them to be able to sustain that success, I'm not surprised. I mean, it's not like you have a coach who's new to the game. Coach Sampson has been in many places, both professionally and in the collegiate ranks. So, yeah, I'm not like, wow. I mean, he's coming in and he's opening eyes. It's just like, that's who Kelvin Sampson is.
So you weren't in the grouping of media, some colleagues. Well, they were in the American. Now they're going to get a big step up and find out what Big 12 basketball is all about. Salute to you. Because it doesn't matter who I heard that.
Yeah,
from,
it's easy to say, by conference affiliation that, they're not ready for big time basketball. They're not ready for power 5, basketball. But I never, that not once crossed my mind.
Okay. Well, thank you for your honesty in that. And 2 years in, they have clinched this year a share. But that technically that is correct. And the conference says that because technically the Cougs could, Cougs could lose their last 3 games and Arizona win their last 4. So they, whatever, 3 or 4, whatever, and finish 16-4 apiece. But since the Cougs, this is what I'm thinking, since the Cougs beat them in their one matchup, they won the tiebreaker head-to-head. So that's why I'm saying they already have won the
title. So by record-wise, yes, you could have co-champs, but Houston would still be the number 1 seed.
And the Cougs are the number 1 seed. So that's what I'm basing all of that on. So, okay. Bill Self. Any sense from people at KU that Coach Self might step down after this season?
No. Yes, he and Scott Drew, the current deans of the Big 12 coaching fraternity. And people thought maybe he would walk away when there was it was IARP and the investigation into wrongdoing and violations, and he was like, he showed his character as like, I'm not going to bail. I'm going to see this thing through. I'm not going to bail on that. I'm not going to hide. I'm not going to run away. And he did. And so, when you come in as a preseason number 1, there are lofty expectations. But what is preseason number 1? I mean, that's based on nothing you've done. That is just something that somebody projected onto you, just based on having 3 returning starters and, having an elite defensive stopper in DeJuan Harris. But And then plus, with when you get a Final Four transfer, coming in, so yeah, like, okay, it's a good mix of returning veteran talent and then some new blood. But here's the thing: when you get veteran transfers, it's not just like you have somebody who played 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
You essentially have to deprogram them.
Yes.
I'm not saying these players are not talented and haven't had collegiate success, but they don't play KU brand, Bill Self brand of basketball. So they have to, whereas, when you have a program guy, which is, in this day and age of the transfer portal and NIL, you will not, it's rare if you see a guy stay for 3 or 4 years. Yes, DeJuan Harris has been there from the get-go. KJ Adams has been, to play their entire career. I mean, even Hunter Dickinson, he was a Big Ten guy. He was a Michigan guy.
Mm-hmm.
But for DeJuan, and KJ, if you are good enough, you're either going pro or you're going to the highest bidder. You're not going to stay in school for 4 years. That's just, my opinion. So with the transfers that they got in, yes, dealing with injuries like everybody else, but you have these guys that have to unlearn another coach's way of doing things.
Mm-hmm.
And even though each team does their, boot camp or whatever, as far as bonding and preparation for the season, like that's still, back in September and October, what gets you through in March to hopefully play into April. And I think that's just kind of what KU's running into. It's just like, oh yeah, when they were beating Duke and Michigan State, and yeah, okay, they're great. But it's just like, okay. But like understanding what you have to bring every night consistently hadn't been there. But no, I don't think, but number one, he has a lifetime contract. So,
great point. Great point. That has not been discussed the last couple of days by some folks. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so even last year, as they struggled down the stretch, I mean, because like, what you're seeing this year is not an anomaly. I mean, last year they set a record for most conference losses under Bill Self. So this year, as of right now, I mean, the thing that is commendable is that Bill Self's KU teams have never been seeded lower than 4th in the NCAA tournament.
That is amazing. That is very impressive.
20 plus years have never been seeded lower than 4th. Right now, projected as a 6th seed, that, they may move up or down a line, I think. Unless if they went out in the regular season and at least get to Saturday of the Big 12 tournament, okay, you can get them back up to the 4 line. But other than that, I would see a 5. I think 5 line is safe, or 5 seed.
Do you think they have what it takes, confidence-wise, whatever, to make it to the Sweet 16, the second weekend?
It's hard to say because NCAA tournament's all about matchups.
True.
It's not necessarily just about your talent. It's just who you match up against. I mean, but here's you look at some of the guys who were in the program, who are now playing elsewhere. I mean, that goes for every team. But you look at Zuby Ejiofor and what he's doing at St. John's. He started his career at KU, but guess what? Hunter Dickinson came and they're like, thanks, Zuby.
Yeah.
They'd rather have a proven big man than to develop one. Yeah. Ernest Uday, same thing. He's he stayed in conference. He's at TCU.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And doing work. So it's just it's an inexact science on who players will become with the right teaching and with time. And in this day and age, I mean, it's hard to say have patience.
Oh, for sure. Definitely. These last few minutes of the takeover, I'm curious your thoughts on Diana Taurasi announcing her retirement from the WNBA. Your thoughts on Diana as a player, her impact on women's basketball, anywhere you want to take it.
Yeah, I mean, like, what is there left to prove? 42 years old, you've been in the game 20 years, NCAA titles, WNBA titles, gold medals, scoring records, MVP. Like, okay, and then you look at how different Phoenix is going to look next season. Like, do you want to come back and play and not necessarily tarnish your legacy, but do you want to work that hard in this new look Phoenix team?
Do you have any Diana story or anything that she did on the court, like a wild moment, anything like that?
Yeah.
When I was younger, I'm old now. Miss Wanda says she wants me to stop saying that because I'm not old. I'm older than some, younger than others. So how about that?
You've seen a lot.
We can go with that too. When I was first few years of covering women's basketball, Dee was at UConn, and I was growing into the mindset of being media, being objective, covering the teams involved, all those things. I was growing into it. So until I really established that, I was a Tennessee fan. I was a Pat Summitt fan. So when UConn started beating Tennessee, I did not like UConn. I did not like Diana, did not like Gino, any of it. Anything, Bleed Blue. I couldn't stand the UConn crowd chant. Here at the Final Four, got on my nerves because it was everywhere. Salute to their fan support runs deep. That is one thing that has always impressed me is their fan support. But as I've got older and as Dee got older, I started to appreciate her game and her skills. She got to the W. I remember, like I said, I saw her at UConn. I think I even saw her at some high school All-America games. So I've seen her for a while. But in the WNBA, I remember young men who were like working in the Comet organization or in the Rockets organization who were watching the Mercury, watching Diana. And they did not mean this in a bad way. They said she shoots like a dude in terms of the form, because at that point there was still some young ladies with the push shot, it just wasn't, it just wasn't the more and more women now, girls now in high school, college, and pro shoot. Help me out here, KP. But and her swagger, so all of that brought into it, and I'm like, yeah, Dee is the real deal. And then talking to her, interviewing her a few times, and getting to know her just a little bit. I mean, she doesn't remember me from anybody because she's met so many people throughout her career. I started to appreciate her game and appreciate her as a person. So I wish her well. And I had a chance to meet Sue Bird at a media mock selection and spent some time with Sue, in between the discussions about how we're going to do the brackets, all that kind of stuff. So got to know Sue. And I, realized the more you have time to spend with players and coaches away from the court, they're regular people. KP, I know that sounds silly to say, but you just see them on the court. That's who they are, and that they have that own on-court persona, but off the court, they're actually real people. You know, you can talk to them. They have families. They have lives. And it's like, oh, well, so you're a regular person, you know, kind of thing. And she was calling basketball. This was back when Houston Cougars women's basketball was good and had national teams media people come to cover the games. She came to a game, working a game. And I saw her at the game, and she remembered me from the media mock selection. So I was like, you know, good to see you again, Sue. Chris, good to see you, kind of thing. And then I learned and realized how the friendship that Sue and Dee have together.
Mm-hmm.
So their sisterhood and their bond, their jokes and chopping it up is just, you know, it is supreme. It's like me and Willie Gibson or me and AD, how we just chop it up, you know, friends forever talking about stuff.
I mean, it's like when you see like their Sue and Diana cast,
yes,
you know, for select games. I'm like,
that's who they are. Okay. The camera, they don't change how they are in front of the camera. That's who they are off camera as well. So I wish her well in her retirement. I hope she kind of goes into some TV if she wants to call some games, work some games as an analyst, because she has great insight on the game. And the last few years, other NBA players, not the NBA guys, they respect game. So they respect Diana and they respect Sue Bird. They respect women's basketball players. You know, they started going to the games. Well, I mean, the media started recognizing them, realizing they were going to the games. And I'm like, y'all just weren't paying attention because NBA guys were common games for years. Y'all just didn't cover the games like that. So, but more and more men and players started appreciating the women's game. So that's another positive going forward. So I wish Dee the best, and I always remember Gino saying at UConn, when it came down to it, we have Dee and they don't.
Yeah.
And that's all. That's all we needed. And many times that was all that UConn needed to win and win championships. So I wish her the best. That's going to do it on this edition of the Houston Roundball Review Takeover. It does not look like I'll be in Kansas City for the Big 12 tournament, unfortunately. Money folks I was kind of counting on, relying on, in so many words, I guess they forgot my number.
Mm.
So that's disappointing. Just got to move on and find another circle of supporters. And what is one of the cliches? You know, don't give people a second chance. They show you when they show you who they are, believe them.
The first time.
That first time, and just move forward. So that's what I'm going to do. So Kenitra, as always, I appreciate it. And let's see, next Wednesday is, what is that, the 4th? 5th?
5th.
So that's day one of the Big 12 tournament. Will you be available to join me next Wednesday? That's what I thought. Okay, well, no worries. I'll make it work. I might be flying solo because I think Willie Gibson has a prior commitment as well, but I'll figure it out. But who knows? If I win the lottery Wednesday night, you might see me in Kansas City. You know, who knows? But everyone, thank you as always for watching the Houston Roundball Review Takeover. If you want to support the Roundball Review, if you are willing and able to advertise on this show or advertise on any of the shows on the Houston Roundball Review YouTube channel, reach out to me, email me at, see right there on the screen, advertise at some of y'all say some folks say the, HRR.com. KP, I'll see you for show purposes in 2 weeks.
Yep.
All right. I won't ask you what I always ask you. I'll let you, because I figure if it has changed, you'll let me know.
Right.
You haven't let me know about that. So everyone, once again, hope you enjoyed the show. Hope you enjoyed this edition of the Houston Roundball Review Takeover, sponsored by BayouBeatNews.com. Bayou Beat, bringing that Southern love to your daily news coverage. I am KG Chris Gardner. She is KP Kenitra Pulliams. Wrapping it up as I do. Oh, one more thing. You'll see it in the links below the video when you watch it on YouTube. Order some Houston Roundball Review merch. It's now warm again in the Houston area, so you may not want to order a hoodie, So you can order a cap, a t-shirt, or a mug, or all of the above if you have those means. Now, since 1994, the Houston Roundball Review. Local name, global perspective. Everyone, take care. Peace.